Navigating the legal world can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. The Indiana Lawyer Podcast is here to help you understand the laws impacting your life, work, and community. Whether you're a legal professional, a business owner, or someone who wants to know how Indiana law shapes the world around you, this podcast is for you. Hosted by Alexa Shrake, a passionate legal reporter, we're here to bring you clarity and insights like no one else can. This podcast is brought to you by Taft, today's modern law firm.
I sat down with one of our distinguished barristers and up-and-coming lawyers for our Leadership in Law Awards on May 29th. Both Kay and Justin are involved with organizations in their communities and stand out in their firms at Taft and Church Church Hittle Antrim. But before we get into it, let's hear from our sponsor, Taft.
Taft, today's modern law firm. At Taft, we cultivate a highly respectful, transparent workplace that fosters creativity, teamwork, inclusion, and diversity. We couple our culture with a client-first approach, rewarding lawyers who understand their clients' goals and work to deliver success. Taft, the modern law firm. To learn more, visit taftlaw.com.
Welcome to the Indiana Lawyer Podcast. I'm your host, Alexa Shrake. I'm here in our Monument Circle studio with Taft partner Kay Pashos and Church Church Hittle Antrim attorney Justin Hayes. Both Justin and Kay are being honored at our Leadership in Law Awards for their work in the legal community. So to start, Kay, why did you choose a career in law?
I was a political science major in college, and I was just fascinated by government structures. And I think about sophomore year, I got really interested in the judicial branch and decided about that time that I wanted to go to law school, probably. I just love the rule of law and love the law.
Yeah. Where'd you go to law school?
I went to Northwestern University in Chicago.
Gotcha. And what brought you back here?
I was born and raised in Indy.
Gotcha. And Justin?
Yeah, I was a psychology major at St. Joseph's College, and I ran cross country and track. And during my running career, I was fascinated with sports performance, so I really wanted to be a sports psychologist. But as I progressed through my studies, I just realized while I loved the substance of the class, I didn't necessarily see myself practicing long-term in psychology. I went back to the drawing board and just reevaluated what I could do as a profession that would allow me to read and write and help people every day, similar to what attracted me to sports psychology. And so law seemed to jump out at me for that. And my aunt actually operates a criminal practice in Brownsburg. So for a summer in undergrad, I worked in her office for a summer just to get a feel for it. And it was something that just made me decide I wanted to be a lawyer and go to law school.
Awesome. And so you both practice in different areas of law. So I'll start with Justin. What do you do at Church Church Hittle Antrim?
I'm in our business practice at Church Church Hittle Antrim. So I do everything from business formation to contract drafting and review to mergers and acquisitions. And then on the real estate side, I can assist clients with acquisitions, leasing, both on the residential and commercial side, and dispositions as well. So I'm primarily a transactional attorney, and so that's what I focus on in the business and real estate practice.
Gotcha. Interesting. And Kay, what do you do at Taft?
I'm in this little niche practice that is totally useless at cocktail parties. I represent energy and utility companies before mostly state regulatory commissions. So when utilities want to adjust their rates, they have to get approval from a state commission. If they want to build a new power plant or a new pipeline for natural gas or a new wastewater treatment plant, they have to usually get state commission approval and certainly approval before they can recover the costs of those major investments in rates. And then there's a whole host of other things the commissions need to approve, but that's what I do.
Gotcha. Have you always done that?
My first 2 years out of law school, I worked for a firm in Minneapolis right out of law school, and my husband-to-be was already up there, and I dragged him back here after we got married. But I just did more general corporate work there, including some pension and profit-sharing plan work, which didn't really thrill me. But I came back, looked for in-house jobs in the Indy area when I moved back here, and I just happened to get a job with PSI Energy. I wasn't looking to become a utility lawyer, but I like it because it's complicated and there's a lot of rules, and it's like litigation, but not really. It just was a perfect fit for me, as it turns out.
Yeah, that's excellent. So part of what the Indiana lawyer looks at when we're judging our honorees is community involvement. And so both of you guys do a lot of stuff in your community, working with local organizations or volunteer. So Kay, can you tell me a little bit about, I saw you do stuff with Make-A-Wish Foundation and United Way. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I'm not actively involved with those two organizations today, but when I was with PSI Energy and then later, I was actively on the board of United Way, and then I was a big supporter of Make-A-Wish. I still am a big supporter. United Way just does so much good in our community and across the state. I was just very excited to be a very small part of that. And I still think they're a wonderful organization that touches so many lives in Indiana. Make-A-Wish to me, it's a very special organization. It's not providing shelter or food or maybe the absolute necessities of life, but for families and kids that are going through really tough times medically, it just brings joy and hope, I think. And I just love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Justin, I saw that you're involved with the Penrod Society. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
Okay, just a picture. And Big Brothers and Big Sisters. So how did you get involved with those two organizations?
I got involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Indiana first, and that started in 2021 when I was back from law school and working at CCHA. I wanted to find a way to get involved in the Indianapolis community. And growing up and jobs in the summer in college, I always liked working with children and liked being in a mentorship role. So actually one of my former college classmates, Sean Krieger, he was for Big Brothers Big Sisters. He was a volunteer, and I saw on Facebook he was posting about their fundraising efforts, and so it just really helped me learn more about the organization. And so just seeing what he was able to do, it seemed like a great organization that I wanted to be involved in. And so then shortly thereafter, I signed up and I was matched with my little. He's 15 years old, so we've been matched now for 4 years, and it's just such a fulfilling organization to be a part of. The relationship with my little and all that we've been able to do in the Indianapolis community, and just to have that relationship and mentorship with him has been really a fulfilling part of my outside involvement. And for the Penrod Society, I similarly was looking to be involved in the Indianapolis community, and Jenny Hughes, a family law partner at CCHA, knew that I was looking for organizations to help out with and give back to. And so she took me to their Evening with Penrod event, which is the Friday night event prior to the art fair in September every year. And so that was my first introduction to the organization. And from there, I just continued to learn more about it and explore everything they do for the arts community in Central Indiana. And so last year was my first year actually as a member. So I was a first-year member last year. And so this year it's my second year, and so I'll be volunteering at the fair. And so the build-up's already started for that. And so September 6th, 2025 is our next art fair at Newfields.
Gotcha. That's fun. It's exciting. Are there any other organizations for either of you that you're interested in being involved with or currently involved with that we didn't talk
Sure.
about?
I'll put in a plug for a very small but meaningful nonprofit I'm on the board of right now. It's called the Chris Center. I think they're going to change their name a little bit in the future, or at least do business under a different name. But I can't release that now. But they were formed basically to try to fill a gap in teen wellness where you might have some issues with your child, but there's long waiting line times to get in to see anyone, and it's difficult. And they don't provide medical advice or even medical or counseling, but they seek to improve teen wellness by creating interactions between kids and nature and kids and animals. And I'm a huge animal lover. I just love what they do. They take dogs to schools for recess or during finals when it's stressful. They have camps with llamas. They do art in nature and nature walks and things like that. And the idea is that interacting with nature and animals can improve your mental wellness. So I love that little organization.
Yeah. Is that just in Indianapolis?
It's the Indianapolis area. It operates in Indy and Hamilton County and Boone County and maybe some other places I'm not familiar with, but.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds neat. Justin, do you have one or?
Yeah, I recently joined the board of the Westfield Chamber of Commerce. So it's been really great over the last 2 or 3 months of being a member, just to see all that organization does for the Westfield business community. And so it's been great to really just be heavily involved with that and just really learning more about how the businesses in Westfield need support and how that organization can support them. And then lastly, my last plug, I guess, would be for the Hamilton County Bar Association. I'm the social chair for the Bar Association. So I just help set up social events just to allow members of the bar, attorneys, judges, other professionals to gather once or twice a month. We usually do third Thursdays up on the Noblesville Square. So usually we'll rotate around some of the local restaurants and bars up there just to gather and have a happy hour and just meet other professionals in the bar. So those are two other organizations I thought I'd mention.
Okay, yeah.
Sounds fun. I want to come.
You're certainly invited every third Thursday.
Yeah. Well, that's excellent. Yeah. I'll start with you, Kay. What is a piece of advice that you've received in your career, or if you can't really think of one of those, if you have anybody that's really inspired you in your career?
Yeah, and I can answer both with kind of the same answer. The CEO I worked for at PSI Energy and Synergy and Duke Energy, all the same company, just mergers and changed of names, was Jim Rogers. He was, I think, a very inspirational CEO to work for. He really challenged people and wasn't satisfied with that's the way we've always done it at all. But one of his kind of principles was be tough on issues, not on people. And I think that's a good thing for a lawyer to live by. And in my practice, where we see the same lawyers, adversarial lawyers and judges and commissioners time and time again, it's just not even smart to try to do this scorched earth litigation or anything like that. So if that fits very well with my practice too, but I think it's an important thing for lawyers to keep in mind.
Justin, what about you?
I think as a younger attorney in my career, just helpful advice about how to learn lessons through mistakes you may make as a young attorney. I think all attorneys, but especially young attorneys, when you're starting out, you want to make sure everything is done correctly, of course, and then you can get a touch of perfectionism where you don't want to make any mistakes. But mistakes happen. Mistakes are natural, and it's how you learn. So I think just the partners I work for at CCHA, Eric Douthit, Steve Lutz, and Leslie Geiger have just been instrumental in helping me reframe mistakes I may make as a young attorney as a way to learn and as an opportunity also to provide better value and better service to the client through that as well. So I think just being able to turn mistakes into learning lessons and grow from them has been really helpful as a young attorney.
Yeah. Do you have an example of a mistake you've made that you've learned from?
So I think just generally a mistake where there was a client who was a little bit frustrated about the status of their matter. They felt like there wasn't enough movement on it. They were wondering what the timeline was. And I was working on it with one of my colleagues, and he was the one that led the call. And it wasn't a mistake, so to speak, but it was a way where we could learn as the attorneys for the client of, okay, this client would like perhaps clear communication, more consistent communication about the timeline and where things are at, and just being able to witness as a young attorney how my colleague was able to have a call with the client to say, hey, here's where we're at, here's what we're working on, and here's in the future the communication plan, so that way you know what the progress is and how things are going with your matter and how we can better provide that service to you. And just seeing how that strengthened the relationship between CCHA and the client was just a really great opportunity to learn from that. And then it's something that I try to use in my practice going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Kay, do you have a mistake that you've learned in your...
Oh, never made any mistakes, no. I have a piece of advice rather than going over the plethora of mistakes I'm making in my career. And one is really, and it goes with not being a perfectionist, you really can't do it all. As a young lawyer that might have a spouse or a partner and young kids possibly, there really aren't enough hours in the day to be a perfectionist in every sphere or any sphere of your life. And I think you just have to accept that to some extent. That doesn't mean you can't and shouldn't do a very good job in all spheres of your life. But I tell one story, which I'm a little embarrassed about, but when I think it was Teacher Appreciation Week, and 10 minutes before we got in the car or something, my son reminds me, oh, we're supposed to take flowers for our teacher today. I'm sure I got a note about it, but I had forgotten. And luckily, Peter reminded me. So on the way to school, which we aren't morning people, Peter and I, so we didn't have a lot of extra time anyway, pulled into a park near our house and grabbed a daffodil and went on. It's not my proudest moment, but you got to have to make things work out and do what you need to do.
Absolutely.
Can I give one other piece of advice? And this is just connecting back to the community involvement. I think for young lawyers in particular, getting involved with organizations is a terrific way to start getting leadership experience. Everyone wants leadership experience, but they don't give you any way to get it necessarily. But nonprofits, especially smaller ones, are happy to have volunteers and happy to have people take over leadership roles. And I just think that's a great learning experience for young lawyers.
Yeah, Kay, I was just going to touch on too about your piece and your advice about there's only so much you can do on a daily basis as a young attorney or an attorney in general. And it's certainly something I'm learning as well, is there's only so many hours in the day, as much as you want to say yes to everything. And that's certainly a problem of me, that I like to say yes to everything. I want to help. I want to be a team player. But at the same time, there's only so many hours in the day. So I'm learning as a younger attorney how to set ways for myself to say no, but also boundaries as well. So that way then I'm able to still rest and recover and still have some work-life balance, and also be able to just do what I can do in the day and just try to balance it all. So it's something I'm still learning how to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we covered that one question. So yeah, is there, for either of you, is there anything that you still want to do with your career or an organization that you want to get involved with?
I think recently, over the last 4 or 5 years, I've really found a love for racing, motorsports, and I love IndyCar. I go to the Indy 500 every year, and I'm looking forward to the race this year. And I've really just found a love for motorsports. Members of my family have been involved in motorsports in some capacity, so maybe it's just something in my genes, so to speak, that I've discovered later in life. But I really just love being at the racetrack, and I like dirt racing, IndyCar, NASCAR. So to be involved in the motorsports community or to work with those in the motorsports community, I think would be really neat as a way to pair a new passion of mine with my profession.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
And I think my genetic disposition is to be an animal lover, and talked about the Chris Center, which is involved with animals. And I've adopted a bunch of dogs from rescue centers. So I would like, as I head toward retirement in a few years, I would like to become more involved with some organizations that are involved with rescuing animals, animal welfare, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that sounds nice. I love animals too. Is there anything else that you guys want to add that I didn't think to ask either of you? Something just to reflect on your careers?
Maybe I don't know if this is typical or not. I do love practicing law. That's why I'm still doing it. I even loved law school. And not everyone says that. But I do think it's a great career. You have the interest and aptitude for it. And there's so many different aspects of law. You can be on the business side. You can do litigation. You can do kind of something in between, which I do. You can help people with estate planning. You can do criminal law. There's just so many areas, and all the intellectual property that I don't even understand. I just think it's a great career opportunity, and I hope lots of smart young people continue to consider it as a career.
Yeah, I think that's a great point of when you find your area that you're passionate about and your team that you like working with and colleagues every day that make it enjoyable to go to work and to do our profession. It's a stressful profession, just like many are, but I think it's helpful then when it is stressful that you have the support of your teammates, that you have a practice area that you're passionate about. So being able to find that, I think, is just a way to not only grow in the profession, but just to have longevity. I'm 5 years in, so I'm very new in the profession, but I'm grateful just for my colleagues at CCHA and the support they give me. On my bad days, they're there to help pick me up and support me. And on my good days, they're there to celebrate with me. So I think that's in a stressful profession. I think that's something that's really helpful just for longevity and just to find passion and purpose in it.
Kay and Justin, thank you both so much for coming in and doing this with me today. And congratulations on being honored as a distinguished barrister and an up-and-coming lawyer. To our listeners, head over to the indianalawyer.com to read more legal news. Until next time, you can listen to past episodes wherever you get your podcasts.